Alright, what's good, boys? So I've been meaning to talk about this for a while now, but I'm actually starting to get some proof of concept with my trading, really showing that God has truly started to change my life. And I want to kind of tell y'all how the whole process of everything happened. With me turning my life to God and Him changing the way that I live and changing the outcomes of my trades, right, and how I trade every single day, and just completely just doing a complete 180 in my life. So first of all, I want to start off with where I was, about 8 months ago. So I was in college, and I still am in college, right? I say drop out and all that stuff in my videos because that's just clickbait. But I do online college. I only spend like 30 minutes to an hour a day, so I'm not really even doing college at this point, bro. I'm just living life. So as long as I'm able to continue doing college, my parents will allow me to stay living with them. So I just fully moved online. My bad, if y'all can hear that. So I just moved pretty much fully online. Bro. Sorry if y'all can hear that. So I pretty much just moved fully online. And yeah, so about 8 months ago, I was fully in person. So I was going in class every single day, just looking around at these people, bro, and the environment that I was in. And I just completely, I just despised it, bro. Every single day I woke up, I just dreaded going to class so much. Same as high school. But it was just even worse because I actually had something that I was doing now. I was trading, and I was just constantly failing every single day, making no progress. I would put countless hours, if I wasn't in class, I was always on the charts. And a lot of times I skipped so many classes, bro. I skipped so many classes just so I can backtest more, just so I can trade more. I trade a PM session, bro. I trade an AM, PM session, backtesting countless hours every single day, doing random Notion journals, trying to study those, constantly watching videos, all these things, right? In an environment that I absolutely hated, bro. And I literally, just to be completely honest, I hated my life. I completely hated my life. And I was so lost because at this point I was about a year and a half into my trading journey. And I was still unprofitable. I just blew 3 XFAs because I was impatient. And I got lucky passing those XFAs. I got very lucky passing those evals. And I was just very pissed. And I got to a point where I invested in a mentor. I invested $500 into a mentor and started learning his model. And I just continue to lose. And I was never able to grow. I was never able to grow from, being in this guy's mentorship and learning from him because he never responded back. He responded back maybe for the first month to get me through the process of, paying for it and everything. And then it got to a point where he didn't even respond to my messages anymore. And sometimes when he did, it would just be the most short answered things of all time. I can't learn from that, bro. I can't improve and I can't trade your model. Because that was the only thing I've ever really struggled with in my trading. Yes, I've had a little bit of impatience, but that stems from me not having a profitable model. So I was just so pissed. I invested in this guy's mentorship, and he's not even responding to my messages anymore, right? I'm 3 months into learning from him, 4 months into learning from him, and it's just going down the drain. Nothing's working. It's about, I think, 3 months in. And then at this point, I was backtesting. I remember days where I would back to back, I would backtest 10 hours a day. I'm not even joking. I would skip multiple classes every single day, and I would backtest 8 to 10 hours every single day. I was back to back. I remember those days, bro. I remember really posting on my Instagram stories. And, I was so lost, bro. I had the craziest work ethic I've ever seen. Right? I didn't, at the time, I never saw any traders that were working as hard as me. And all these guys that were gooning, they weren't really doing much, but they were trading, they were making money. They were making progress. Holy, bro. They were making progress. They were making so much more progress. They were making money. And I was just sitting here putting in way more work than them. I'm bro, why can't I make any progress? And that's when I really just began to rely on God, because at that point I was questioning God. I had 2 days. I remember 2 days in a row where it was probably the worst 2 days of my entire life. Worst 2 days of my entire life. I was always in my head 24/7, all day long. like just I hate my life. Like, what is going on? No matter what I'm doing, like it's not working. I was questioning God. I was questioning if God's real. I was like creating the most insane things in my head, saying, okay, these guys in this industry, they work all in a small inner circle together, and they pay these guys to do interviews with them so that people can buy their course, and then on and on. Like, I was creating these crazy concepts in my mind as a cop out of why trading is not going to work for me. And I got to the point again where I was questioning my life, I was questioning my decisions, I was questioning God. And I don't know where I heard it from, bro, but it was somewhere on social media, probably a YouTube video. People were telling me to just surrender fully to God, surrender fully to His process. And I told God the same thing every single night and every single morning. And I started to change the way that I lived. I started to pray to God every single night, because I've gotten a lot of questions from y'all boys asking me, how to truly surrender your life to God. And I don't have my doctorate in religion or anything like that, but I have a relationship. Religion doesn't matter. I have a relationship with God. I have a relationship with Christ. And I've built that over time in learning these small things. And what I did personally, guys, was every single night and every single morning I would pray to God, and I would spend time with Him every single day. And I would say, God, I surrender my life to you. Whatever you need to do in my life so that I can do your will, allow it to happen, right? You take charge. I remember me saying, like, you take the wheel or something like that. God, you take the wheel in my life. I will continue to pedal, right? I'll continue to drive, but you need to steer. I'm giving you full access. I give you full access to my life to do whatever you need to do to get me to the point that you want me to be. That's what I said to Him every single night. And it's not just those words, it's the actions behind those words. I started to act different. I started to suppress my anger more. Suppress my anger a lot more. Right? When I was in times of, getting mad at someone or, about to talk back to someone, I stopped myself. When I realized the way that I think is incorrect and very, worldly, I guess you would say, right? Very worldly, like what the average person would do. They would talk back to him. They would trash talk. They would think, they would judge him. These small things. I started to change. I made the choice to start changing. Right? God gave me the ability to do so because I started to ask Him every single day, God, please steer the boat, bro. Please steer the boat. Do what you need to do in my life to get me to the point that you want me to, get to. And I started to take action every single day. I started to cuss less. Right? I completely cut out cussing. It took a while, but I completely cut out cussing. And I started to read the Word more. I started to spend more time with God. I started to suppress my anger more when I was angry. I started to, not be mean to people that I used to be mean to. I started to forgive more. And I started to realize I had that peace in my heart now. It's something, I can't explain. You have to experience it yourself. But it came through action and deciding that I need to change my life. I need to change the way that I live for God. Every single time, one of the biggest things, every single time I doubted or I had these things that I couldn't control on my own, like my thoughts, my negative thoughts, my lust. Every single time, I started to rely on God instead of relying on myself. And that is when my life started to change. That is when everything started to align. That's when I invested $1,000 into a random guy that, didn't have much credibility. He was very new to the coaching space. He only had a few successful students, I think like one or two. And everyone is telling me not to do it. It's not a smart idea. Yet I still did it. Right? I was also going home at this time, getting away from that old environment in college and being home. I'm able to eat healthy foods now, bro. I was eating garbage in college because they just fed you garbage. I was literally eating peanut butter bagels every single day, bro. Every single day. For like two meals in a row every single day. So cooked. And I'm blessed to be able to eat food, but it's just not good for what I'm trying to do, bro. I'm trying to have high energy every single day. And I was able to eat healthy food again. Was able to be in a better environment where I can fully focus and fully lock in and just enjoy life instead of just being cramped up in a dorm and having to go to class and listen to teachers yap and look around everywhere and just see people that are just absolutely dead and they just hate what they're doing. You know, I was in that good environment again. I invested in that $1,000 into a mentor, and I truly started to live my life through God and have that peace in my heart. That is when everything started to change, and that was in the beginning of the summer. And I just trusted in the process. I trusted in God's process with this new mentor, and it was very, very slow, bro. I'm one of his most struggling students. He said he's never had a student that has struggled, as much as I have. It took me, 4.5, almost 5 months. I think it was like 4.5 months to get my first payout with this model from learning from him. And it's just a start, bro. It's just a start. And God has allowed me to get to that point, bro. The first month and a half, I think it was like the first 2 months, I struggled a lot. And then the past 3 months have been the best 3 months of my trading yet. And that yet has been the slowest 3 months of my trading. Markets have been absolutely garbage these past 3 months. Absolutely garbage. Yet I have learned the patience. Yet I've, relied on God to provide me the patience every single day. Every single day I ask for patience from God to provide me the Holy Spirit so that I may be patient today in trading. Every single day He delivers. I cannot tell you the last time I FOMO'd into a trade. Every single loss that I take is because something I either haven't learned yet, this is like a small little thing I've learned, or it's a statistical loss, which happens, right? Before this loss, 3 weeks ago, through that 3-week winning streak, that I took my first loss in over 4 weeks, right? And it's all because I've been patient in this process and just trusted in God and gave my life to God. That's why people say, I get DMs all the time and people saying, it wasn't God, give yourself credit, bro, it's all you, there's no man above. Like, bro, are you stupid? Like, why are you trying to tell me something I know? I tried countless times, every single day, countless hours, for over 1.5 years. Nothing worked. No matter how hard I worked, no matter how little I worked, I got to a point where I was putting in 5 back-tested trades every single day, and that was it. Right, that was it, because people were telling me to do that. And that didn't even work. So I was trying everything. No matter what I tried, nothing worked. Until I gave my life to God. Until I started to surrender to Him and say, God, do what you need to do. That's when He changed the trajectory of my life. And y'all can go back, 4 or 5 months ago, and y'all can see the video at the beginning of the summer, me saying, my life is going to change right now. Like, I can feel it. I felt it. I felt the shift. It was not like I became profitable overnight. I was still struggling with the model. I was still taking losses. But I had that shift. I felt it. I felt it in my soul, bro. That's when everything changed. And now I'm at the point, bro, where I truly believe that I'm profitable. Right? I truly believe that I'm profitable. I'm another one trade away from taking another payout, right? I took my payout I took my payout last Tuesday or Wednesday, my first payout for 2K, and then I'm one trade away right now from taking another $3,000 payout. It was going to be $4,000, but I lost that trade, and that was completely fine. That was just a lesson that I learned. That's fine, right? I just got to continue to trust in God, continue to trust in the stats that I have with this model, saying that, okay, I'll learn something from that trade. Most likely the next trade, I'm going to take a win. If not, it's fine. I'll blow these accounts, and I'll move on to 5 evals, 5 XFAs, and scale, right? So it's, whatever's in God's plan. But I'm fully confident in my model now because I've given my life to God, and I trust Him, and I trust in His process because He's brought me this far. I wasn't able to do it on my own for so long. I was never able to do it on my own until I started to realize that I cannot do this by my own. I need to have someone. I need to have God with me. That's when everything changed, bro. That's my that's my trading changed, and that's the way, the way that I live my life. That's when it changed, bro. Just like having that internal peace at all times, bro. And yes, still facing sin, still facing fear, but God is rid of a lot of the sin that I used to indulge in, and it's all because I've trusted Him and I've relied on Him, bro. So with anything that y'all struggle with, bro, give your life to God the way that I told y'all how to, or, whatever feels right to you. I have my own experience. Again, I don't follow religion. I don't follow a religion telling me what to do. I follow God. I follow Christ. Because Jesus is the one who saved me, not the religion. So, I hope y'all boys were able to, get a good understanding of how, I've grown up throughout this journey and how my life and my soul, bro, has, completely changed in the past 8 months, pretty much a year. How my soul has just completely changed. My life has completely changed. The way that I live for God now. And hopefully y'all hopefully this, plants some seeds, bro, and allows y'all to understand that, you cannot do this by yourself. No matter how hard you try, just like me, bro, y'all can't do this by yourself. Y'all need to continue to push and put God in the forefront of your life, and he will continue to help you out and guide you, where you need to be. So appreciate y'all, boys. If y'all want to join in the Discord, it's completely free. It'll be left down in the description. But other than that, I will see y'all boys next week. Peace out.